cities are you guys from? Where are you all dialing in? Chennai, Bangalore, Patna, Gujarat. Interesting. How's the exam season going on for all of you right now? Very curious to know how board exams went by. Tough. Interesting. Okay. We are going to wait for 5 minutes so that more people join in and nobody misses out on such an important session today. We are going to take 5 more minutes on that. But before that, I have one very important question for all of you. What are you hoping to get out of this session? What is the expected outcome? We will introduce ourselves, definitely. We are waiting for more people to come in, Rakshit. But what are you expecting out of this session? Think about it and put it on your chat. Startup journey, new ideas. Okay, figuring it out. Or entrepreneurship and startup. I think that's the right way to put it, right, Martin? Figuring it out. It's always a journey of figuring out.
Sounds absolutely correct. Startup is a lot of figuring it out.
Yeah. Networking, interesting. Hi, Shri Shant. Great to meet you again. Perfect. I think I'm going to run a poll also for all of you, just so that we know we are on the right page. 1 second. Let's do a poll. Okay, I have a very interesting question for all of you, and like probably that's why you are here. Like, do you guys know about SST's Innovation Lab? Quickly. Okay, most of you already know. Some of you don't.
We're going to change that today.
Yeah.
Looking forward to telling you all about it.
Session we're going to have here today. Right, we'll start in like another 3-4 minutes. But yeah, interesting. Okay, may I know the valuation of Scalar School of Technology? Rakshit, quickly Google search and why don't you tell us what's our valuation? Perfect. Uh, Shimank is posting, I'm new in this page, but my expectations are just too high. Interesting. Awesome. I think we can quickly begin with a round of introductions. So for everybody who, many of you will already know me, but the ones who don't, I am Yash. I am the head of partnerships and strategic initiatives at SST. Was a founder before, built AI agents before they were a hype, and graduated from London Business School. Seen business building and startup ecosystem across different continents, I would say. And I think today we have gathered here for something very interesting, right? Like the entire venture building startups. Every day, I'm very sure all of you see one news article about a startup raising capital or some exciting new company emerging out of nowhere, right? New AI models coming in every day. So, and a lot of parents also who are coming here, right? So many startups are coming, new employment opportunities are getting created. One question which comes in everybody's mind is, if my child is interested in entrepreneurship, or if I am interested in entrepreneurship, how should I approach it, right? Like, or maybe even like about SST, a lot of you might think, right? Ki whether if I'm interested in entrepreneurship, is SST the right college for me, or is it only focused on employment and jobs? So today's session, we are going to really understand one, what is entrepreneurship and what it means to be an entrepreneur. I hope you all can hear me very clearly. Right? Give me a thumbs up if you can hear me quickly. Fantastic.
Oh, excellent.
Perfect. So if you can hear me very clearly, I think we're going to understand true essence of being a founder. Right? It's not all it's not all flamboyant, glamorous, what you see in news articles on Twitter, on LinkedIn every day, right? It has a different side to it. And second, we are going to understand how at SST we build this whole ecosystem out, right, for aspiring founders, for builders. And for that, we have Martin with us today. So, Martin is our head of innovation lab at SST. A very crazy background, right? Like, I'll give you some insights on his background. Martin completed his undergraduate from Harvard University, then went on for a long consulting stint, went for his MBA to MIT, right, two of the best and the finest institutions in the world, to then come back to India and build a agri-tech startup, right? Raise some great money from investors, and eventually we were like, we need someone like Martin to come to SST and build the entire startup ecosystem for Scalar School of Technology. And here is Martin with us today. So Martin,
Hey,
today's
everybody.
agenda is I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. There are going to be questions from students. We are going to try to answer as many as possible, and maybe students take away few things away from this conversation today. Right?
That sounds amazing. Let's go.
Awesome. So I think a very simple question, which a lot of people ask me preemptively, is, uh, Martin, what is entrepreneurship according to you? Number one, and
Hmm.
second is, how is SST's innovation lab positioned to solve for building great entrepreneurs out of our institution?
All right. I mean, first of all, thanks for that very flattering introduction, Yash. Always nice to hear. And hello, everybody. Pleasure to be here. Pleasure to share, what little knowledge I have with the whole group. I'll dive right into it. I think, both of your questions are ones that I'm very passionate about. So, one in terms of, what is entrepreneurship for me? I think entrepreneurship is about building something you truly care about. I think it's about finding a problem you're really passionate about and then just going, right? And building something to help people. I'll tell you a little bit about my experience. I, have agriculture family, and my agriculture family has for a long time been struggling with certain parts of being farmers. And so I knew I always wanted to do something to help farmers. And after some great entrepreneurship in India, and so I came to India and built, a mobile application for farmers out here. And it was one of the best experiences I've had in my entire life. So entrepreneurship is about finding something you truly care about, and then just building and learning and really, going for it. I think that is my definition. Now I can jump right into the next question that Yash asked me, which was around, how do we at SST solve for entrepreneurship? And I think there are many components to it. For one, obviously there's the academic part, and that part is really important and really cool, but it's not what I do, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. The one thing that I think we really do, which I'm incredibly proud of, mostly because I lead it myself, is the Innovation Lab. So at the Innovation Lab, basically, we allow students, like hopefully you one day, to build startups, right? We have a number of programs that support students in building their own startups or contributing to an existing startup, or even working with corporate partners in a sort of corporate startup. And I think all of those we could go into much more detail on, but I think what I want all of you to take away is that there's an academic piece, and then there's also the innovation lab, where we go far beyond the academic and really help you get first-hand experience at building. Yash, I'll hand it back to you.
So I think I have one question for everybody here. Like, do you guys actually want to see like the cool innovation lab? I can show you a 3D model of our innovation lab, like how that lab entirely looks like, which Martin leads. Do you guys want to see it? Give me a thumbs up if you want to see. Like until I get 20 thumbs up, I'm not going to move there. Oh,
Well,
we
that
exceeded
solves that
20.
one quickly. Very good.
Perfect.
Go.
Awesome. So here, let's go and watch our SST's innovation lab. And there is when tech doesn't always work out. Quickly, let me go to the website. So I'll show you where you can find our SST's innovation lab also, right? Uh, Quickly. So here you go on SST's website, like it's there for everybody here. You simply go on student life. On student life, we have a lovely section which gives you a whole detailed campus experience. But here you can specifically see our innovation lab. Are you guys able to see my screen? Give me a yes if you can. Guys,
Yeah.
I need 20 yeses so that you know that I can, go forward. Awesome.
There we go.
Perfect. So this is the awesome SST's Innovation Lab, which everybody talks about. I'm pretty sure if you have seen our YouTube channel, you definitely have seen the RoboDog, the famous RoboDog which our students have programmed. Let's go inside and have a look at what it is. This is the RoboDog which our students have programmed, right? This can do a lot of different things. And if you haven't seen it, I will definitely share the YouTube channel of SST. You can't miss out on such cool things which are happening. Then let's look at the drone lab. This is the lab number 2. There are drones, there are 3D printers, there are a lot of exciting things inside. See, this is one of the drones, and this is a very interesting one. This is a firefighting drone, by the way. So whenever there is a
Mhm.
fire on campus, students are basically able to uh, detect heat maps and like extinguish the fire.
And I should also point out that it's not just on campus. There have not been many fires on campus. This would work everywhere.
Absolutely. So there is a 3D printer, and there are a lot of other. There is a robotics lab. There is a AI/ML lab. A lot of exciting things are happening. Martin, over to you. Quick question: can you shed some
Yeah.
lights on different type of projects apart from the ones we see here, which students are working at SST campus? Would love to know a little more about that.
Yash, could you just repeat? We just had a network outage.
Yeah. So just checking, like, what are the different kind of exciting projects that students have built on SST's Innovation Lab, like working, collaborating with
Mhm.
faculties and corporates. If you can shed some light on that.
Yeah, there's some great ones. I'll tell you about my favorite one, which we're currently still building out, which is called Smart Mirror Project. Basically, what students are doing there is that they have a little camera that you can put on your mirror, and the camera takes a look at you. It analyzes your outfit, and then it tells you that you need to change your outfit, perhaps that your jeans are not matching with your sweater. I tried it the other day and it told me that I shouldn't wear a red sweater. I should wear a blue sweater instead because it matches better with my beige jeans. So I think that's been a really fun project that students are working on. We also have students working on AI topics. In particular, there's one team that is currently working on an AI voice model. So they're trying to make speech to text, the ability to speak to your phone, much more effective. It's a very sort of deep tech topic, and the team is getting a lot of support from some of our mentors here at SST. But that's another one that I really like, not because it's so fun, but because it really goes into like deep technical topics that I'm personally very impressed by. So we have some really, really awesome projects, and I hope that there will be many, many more to come in the coming years.
I think Rakshit has a question on chat. What are the top 3 startups in SST and their valuation? I think valuation, Rakshit, is a very poor metric. What you should look at when you're looking at a startup is what are the product they are building, right? And maybe let me quickly show you some kind of startups which are right now coming. For example, this is your. I'm pretty sure. How many of you see Shark Tank? I think that's the first question I need to ask before I even like talk about this. I think somebody already knows Neosapien. Anupam invested. Yes, you are right. So Neosapien as a startup, one of our students, Umesh, and a team were their founding backend engineers. This startup is incubated at SST. They raised capital on Shark Tank. Right. This is one such startup which is a great success. But I think this is just because they have raised money. But we, as a founder, like as an ex-founder, and Martin can agree, founder journey and building journey is not about raising capital. It's about solving a very core, deep customer problem. And
Absolutely.
we are not just proud about uh, Neosapiens, but there are some other really cool companies out there who are building some very solid products on campus, like this, for example. Martin, I'm pretty sure you have met these students, Om, Abhinav, and
Yeah,
Amritesh.
they're all very sort of excited and doing great work, all of them.
Do you want to shed some light on like what are these projects? Any thoughts on that? Like since you have interacted with them.
Sure. So Mishra, he's one of the folks that I've been talking to in the last couple of weeks. He's building BuildMyNotes, right? And basically, what they do is they help you when you're attending a course at Scalar or at any other university. Uh, you know, uh, Om has built an AI that helps you basically record what's happening in the lecture automatically, and then it summarizes the entire lecture for you at the end and spits out a ready-to-consume lecture notes. And that's been really successful here on campus. Almost everybody uses it. And they're now starting to expand it to other campuses as well. So Om has done some really, really cool AI work. And he's really solved a key problem for many students, right? Like taking notes is
Yeah.
not the most fun. So I think that one is a ton of fun. Then Amritesh and Pritam, they are basically building this really interesting what's the right word here? Apologies. They're building this really interesting tool that allows like startups to very quickly build MVPs. So what this means is that, today when you want to build a technical product, then usually it takes some time for you to develop the first version of it, right? This is called the minimum viable product, or MVP. And Amritesh and Pritam are building a platform that makes it really easy to build an MVP. Basically, there are drag and drop elements, and you can very, very quickly put together an app or a website that you can then use to actually launch a product, launch an app, or try something new in the space. So it's a really fantastic product that they're working there. And then lastly, I have to admit, with Abhinav, I actually haven't chatted. So I don't know what he's building on right now. Yash, do you have a clear view on this one?
Yeah. So
Or
I think one big problem statement which students face in Bangalore, especially today, it's a very local problem, hyper local problem, is there are just so many things happening since the SST's campus is in Bangalore, and Bangalore, like we all know, is the Silicon Valley of India. That's how we sort of that's a kind of an annotation
Mhm.
to Bangalore city. So there are just so many different tech events, founder events, learning opportunities happening across the city every day that it's very hard to keep a track of everything that's happening and going down the city. So these folks built like a platform where they sort of track every single great learning opportunity which students can actually leverage and attend. Right. So there is no FOMO or fear of missing out on some great things happening, and then you only find out later about it from Twitter. So yeah, I think that's a very important, like it's a very quick problem, right? So one learning which I had from my founder journey is like the first problem I try to solve is my own problem, right? The
Mm.
first thing I try to build. So on this, I have a question for you, Martin. Like, what are the top 5 skills which a founder should have?
Way to put me on the spot with five. But I think the first skill you need to have. Oh, thank you. Apparently the light was out because I'm not moving. I think the first skill that you really need to work on is just getting excited. I think the number one thing you need to do is figure out, like, what are you excited about, and you need to get clear in your head about that. And once you have an idea, then the next thing you need to do is just, I think, the willingness to try, or like the ability to try something new and to take a risk, right? Startups don't always work. And frankly, that's okay, right? Even if your startup doesn't work, you learn so many valuable skills when you're building, right? From technical skills to leadership skills to, just skills at networking. There's 1,000 things you learn when you have a startup. But the very first step is always, taking a risk and actually just going and trying to do something new. And I should say here that risk doesn't have to be so large, right? If you're a student at SST, you can do a startup while you're studying, and then the risk isn't so high. All you're losing at that point is some of your time, right? So one, you really have to be somebody that can come up with ideas. Two, you need to be willing to take a risk and go. And then three, I think another skill that's really essential is like the ability to work hard. I think this should not be undervalued. Working hard is absolutely required as a founder. I can tell you that when I was running my own startup, I worked every single day, 14 hours from morning to evening. I got up at 6 and I started working, and I went to bed at like 10, and I loved it, right? And I did that 7 days a week. Only Sunday afternoons I took off, right? Because I have a wife and my wife got unhappy with me, right? So I think the next thing you really need to do is just work hard. And then, I think in terms of other skills, I think now that you're working hard and you have this great idea and you've taken your risk, I think you also need the ability to listen to people. So the most important thing, in my opinion, when you've started your own startup, is to find a problem and then other people and listen to them talk about their problem, right? You need to understand the problem in depth, and the best way to do that is to really, connect with people, talk to them, get lots of clarity on what you're building, right? And I think all of those things come from talking to people and really, being willing to interview and to understand. And then the last skill I think that's really useful is tech. It's the last in the list because all of these things here come first, but you can't build if you don't have tech skills. So I think that is one, now you have this great idea, you've taken your risk, you have this like everything is ready. Then tech comes into the picture. And, as a software developer myself, I can tell you that it helps a ton when you can build quick prototypes and go to your customers fast. So I think that's my summary. Lots of skills, from like big ideas to taking risks, to working super hard, to listening, and then all the way to actual tech skills, right? And Rishabh, I actually fully agree with you. Clarity is, important, and then courage to take a risk. Go ahead, Yash.
I loved your answer, Martin. I think makes a lot of sense and gave a lot of clarity to all the young builders who are, potentially, going to be coming out with their own ventures in coming years.
Yeah.
Couple of things which I sort of have noticed working with, so I do a lot of angel investing on site, like meet some young founders, 18, 19-year-olds, is that I think we think a lot, do very little when we are young, right? Because we don't know how to do it. So one thing to all students should be ready for is it's okay to have uncertainty, things not figured out, right? It's important to try. Like most
Fully agreed.
companies did not succeed because they never tried.
Yeah.
Right?
I think the biggest mistake is not to start. That's the biggest thing. You just need to start. Yeah, fully agree with you on that.
Yeah. I think one question which I have for everybody here is, how many of you want to build your own startups as you grow? And the answer, it's not something which like you need to know today. It's okay, it takes time. But like generally right now, what's the thought process like? How many of you want to build your own companies? Okay. Perfect. I think I want
You're
to
already working on one.
I think I want to run a poll.
Yeah, please do.
Devansh,
what are you working on? Can you just type it in the chat?
Yeah. What you can also type. What are you guys working on right now? If anybody is building something or has ideas, what are the ideas you're working on?
An e-commerce website is not bad. That would be really interesting to see. Not too many. Indian rap cases, as in like, rapping. That's fascinating. Look, chatbot is cool. I'm working on one myself right now. That's a fun one.
I think I have a very interesting question. Maybe this question has some bias, but I'm still going to go ahead. What do you want to build? Your own company, an impactful product at a high growth startup, or like cool products at big techs? Let me give you a better idea. You want to build your own company, or you want to work with like build products with the Zomato, Swiggy, Flipkarts of the world, or you want to build like small features at a Google, Microsoft, Amazon, which is option C. Let's see what the people are picking. I think, Martin, we have our answer. We have a lot of budding entrepreneurs coming out of this session today.
Amazing. Amazing. I love it. And I hope to have all of you in the Innovation Lab soon. I think this might be a good moment for me to talk a little bit about our student startup program, Yash.
Absolutely.
And so, folks, or everybody here, let me tell you a little bit about our student startup program, which the basic idea for our student startup program is, this is a program that we're just launching. The idea here is that every student that wants to have a startup should make a team, and then that team should come to our innovation lab. And Yash just showed us, the beautiful space. And then within that lab, what we're going to be doing is, one, we're going to have a night every week where all the startups that are currently building at SST come together and have a hackathon every Tuesday night. We're currently planning, but we're going to have to see what exactly the date will be. And then at midnight, the plan is to give you lots of pizza, because I love pizza. And if I'm going to be there and at midnight, then I'm definitely going to have to eat something. But the idea here is that, lots of students will come together and we'll all build really, really great stuff. And importantly, that we're going to build a community, right? So I'm really excited about the student startup program because it allows lots of our students to start the entrepreneurial journey in a community, and with fun events like our weekly hackathon. But on top of just these hackathons, what we're also planning to do is connect you with mentors. So that's some of the folks here on our team. Our founders here at the Scalar School of Technology, Abhimanyu and Anshuman, are going to spend time. I will be in the Innovation Lab regularly to help all of the teams that we have in building. So, what I'm trying to say is, if you come to Scalar and you want to build a startup, there will be a place for you, and we will be working together. And so I'm really hoping to see a lot of you because building startups is an absolute passion. So I think that's one thing I really wanted to talk about. The student startup program, I think, is going to really change many people's lives, and I'm incredibly excited about it. Yash, does that make sense? Or
Yeah,
everybody here in
I
the
think one
chat, any
thing which I
questions?
also want to sort of tell everybody is, like a lot of, and I think a lot of you students will relate to in this. Martin, sorry, just might use a word in Hindi. It's called mahal. Mahal means the environment, the ecosystem, right? Like, and just like when you guys are preparing for JE, there is a right environment, right mahal for all of you guys. Prepare for Bangalore, and within Bangalore, the SST ecosystem is the right environment with right guidance, right mentorship for anybody who wants to come and build a great company out of, right? And we are seeing some first year, second year students going to Shark Tank, building things already, right? And that is essentially because not 100 out of 100 students at SST will become founders, right? Like, but every single person at SST will develop something what we called as a builder's mindset. And I'll tell you how we integrate that in our academics, right? Like, maybe if I can just quickly show you all a little bit about the curriculum of SST, right? How we look at teaching tech at SST. I'll quickly share our website again, because the reason I'm sharing website is everything is there for you all to see.
Yeah, and I will say the curriculum is important, especially if you want to build. I think you do need hard skills, right? I think it's really important to have the drive and the dream and the idea and all those things I mentioned earlier.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
having gone to Harvard computer science classes, I can say that those were definitely one of the reasons my startup worked well. So the degree doesn't matter so much in my mind, Pranay. What matters is that you learn skills that
Yeah.
that really enable you to build.
So yeah, like I was saying, right? Like, I think Martin, I completely echo your thoughts. At SST, the focus is on very hands-on practical learning, right? So unlike other colleges where first 2 years you just study all the random subjects in the world to cover certain
Yeah.
credits, theoretical papers, bookish mugging up the way we have studied our entire lives as Indians, right? Like, and I think uh, that completely changes at SST, right? Like, in the first 2 years, we focus on building strong foundational technical skills. You will be studying web development, data structure algorithms, AI, machine learning in second year. And in third year, we are like, okay, great, foundations are strong. Now let's specialize. Let's go deep. Because today, in any startup or any company you build, any product you build, right? What creates a moat today is the technical complexity of it, right? The more technically complex, the more defensible your product is, right? And that's where we focus on teaching you technical depth, right? You go deeper into advanced data structure algorithms. You learn TensorFlow, deep learning, NLP modules, Probably by third year, you will master PyTorch, LangFlow, LangChain, maybe in the first year itself, probably. Understand how OpenLLM work. So a lot of these things you'll be doing in your third year, go very deep. And fourth year is all about building. Now you can build for yourself or you build with other companies as an intern, right?
Mm.
So one entire year of hands-on work experience in other companies or building your own company, innovation lab. This is the fourth year of your college. No college in India does that for you right now. And how do you study also in the first 2 years, right? You don't study theory. Theory is probably 20%. It's about building things, right? So your entire 6, 8, or semesters are designed in a way where you build apps, you build functional products, you test out your code. You just don't mug up code and you write commands, or you don't by heart syntax, right? You go and build things, see if your products work. You build a portfolio of products. You build games, you build image editors, you build a portfolio website, social media apps. In third year, you build more advanced things, right? Like in third year, you build like blockchain, decentralized marketplace, text generation, fake news detection, essentially a lot of deep learning, ML algorithms. And finally, fourth year is where we focus on industry immersion, internship, or you can do company sponsored projects, or you can do innovation lab projects, or build your own startup, right? So this is our entire emphasis. And interestingly, some of our students have been doing pretty well in these metrics. So three of our second year students have also gone abroad for their internships, by the way. They have not even started the third year, they're just finishing the second year. So Krishna here is going to Bali for Apple Developer Academy. Tamanna has got an internship in New York in CNAPIC. Uh, then you have Abhinav who has got a internship in Germany with Digital Product School. So a lot of our students are going global, and I think that's the future, right? Like Indian talent, and Martin can maybe correct me if I'm
Mm.
wrong. Indian talent has a global demand, right? Especially the tech talent. Like you will see all the global tech
Absolutely
leaders
true.
all coming out of India, building for the
Yep.
world. And we also aspire that like our students will also build products which don't only create hyper local or national level impact, but do real global level impact.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Definitely, like global. I mean, India's talent goes global for sure, and I'm really happy to see that some of our students have succeeded there, and I'm sure there'll be many more going forward. No,
Absolutely. So I think
Bali certainly
now
sounds nice.
I have a couple
Go
of
ahead.
questions which I can see on chat,
Mm,
and I'm going to throw some questions at you, Martin.
go.
Okay. Yeah. One question which I see very prominently coming in, right, is okay, I build a company, I have my own idea. How do I validate my idea for a startup? How do I know if it's a good idea or bad idea? Because I see everybody coming up with thousands of ideas on chat, but can you
Yeah,
tell us a framework, maybe a good framework to try out? Firstly, I want to
yeah.
understand
So
from students. Do you guys want to know this? How to validate an idea? Do you have any thoughts on this? Give me on chat. Give me a thumbs up if you want to know. Okay, some very interesting ideas. You ask people to pay, pre-register. What else? I want ideas flowing on the chat, guys. You have no idea how hard it was to get Martin on a webinar, and we did that just for you all. So quickly put
I'm
on chat what are
crazy.
the different ways. Free trials, okay. Idea is bullshit when you compare it with execution. Execution matters. SWOT analysis. Make an MVP. Okay.
Yeah.
Martin, I think over to you. What is your that secret sauce of identifying whether an idea is worth pursuing or not?
Yeah, I think there were a lot of good ideas here. In terms of making people pay is a great idea. Building an MVP can be a great idea. It kind of depends a little bit on the product that you're building, right? But I would say, well, one, maybe taking a step back, um, I think there's a great framework that I've really loved, which I learned from my professor at MIT, which is called 24 steps to entrepreneurship. And that's a framework that we'll be using in the Innovation Lab going forward. It basically helps you go from an idea all the way to a $1 million revenue startup, right? And the first 8 steps in our 24-step journey to entrepreneurship talk a lot about, how do I validate my idea in in the early days. And I think there are many approaches that people choose. The ones that I have personally always thought come back to listening a lot, right? So one of the first things that you should do is you should talk to your customers, right? So come up with your idea, and then go talk to the people that are supposed to be using it, and either show them the idea, right? So that's an MVP. Let them try it if it's easy to build a cheap MVP. And if it's not easy to build a cheap and quick first version of your product, then you should just talk to them and ask them, what do you think about my idea? Would it work? And those are really where you're. Those conversations are where you're going to learn everything you need to learn about whether your product is actually ready to go live. And once you've had these conversations and you've gotten people's feedback, then after all of that, if you have a product and you can get people to pay for it, I fully agree with that answer. That really tells you, okay, my idea works. When somebody pays for it, then you're good. So I don't remember who said it earlier, but I think the best way to test whether your idea is ready for startup is, does somebody pay for it, right? Who was it? I have to find the person and tell them that they did a great job. Devansh, good job. Yeah, I think Devansh has it absolutely correct. It's really about getting people to pay.
Okay.
That's the gold standard.
Great answer, Martin. I think super helpful. 3 more questions which students are like bombarding me with right now on my DM.
Go ahead.
Guys, why don't you simply put it on chat for everyone? Why are you sending it only to me? Be shameless with your questions. I think one trait as a founder you need to have is be shameless. Just go and ask. Just knock all the doors you can. Right? Martin, the question is, how does SST support me with getting my product out there? And second, raise capital from investors. Like, what's the support available for that?
Sure. So, with getting your product out there, I will say you have to do that yourself. I even at Harvard and MIT, nobody's going to help you go and put your product out there. And initially, you have to do that, right? You have to go and find customers. You have to hustle, right? You have to work hard. Nobody's going to build your startup for you. So I can certainly, in the Innovation Lab, make a couple of introductions, perhaps to corporations if you're doing B2B work. But at the end of the day, there's nobody that's going to do the startup work for you. You have to do it yourself, right? And then, Yash, what was the second part of your question?
How does SST help in securing funding in the first round of capital?
Yeah, absolutely. So for this one, we, at SST, we ourselves are a funded startup, right? So we have investors of our own, and those include Sequoia and Lightrock, some of the biggest investors in the world. And so for good ideas, right, that have shown initial traction, we are very, very happy to make introductions at these absolutely top tier, investment firms. I think that's what I would say. But I will also say that not everybody gets this privilege. You have to work hard first. You have to show me that your startup is working well, and that you have some customers that love the product, and only then will I, introduce you to some personal friends of mine at these companies. And Abhimanyu and Anshuman, our founders, will also only do it at that point. So, but we will, right? So I think the takeaway is, if you work hard and you show us that your startup is working, we will make amazing connections for you happen. That's something that
I think for all the students who are asking me what is Sequoia, Tiger, Global, Lightbox are investors of Scalar. At the same time, if you have heard about companies like Google, Microsoft, Flipkart, Zepto, Zomato, these also have the same investors. So these are really, really the biggest names out there in the venture investing ecosystem. Perfect. I think one question which is there now, there are a lot of questions which people are now putting out there.
Yeah, go ahead. That's great.
I think this is a very common one. Okay, I try a startup in my first year, second year. It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Then what's my second option? What are my backup options?
Yeah. So, well, one, make a new startup, or two, go find a job. Those are your options, or an internship. But I want to like take one step back here. S- Startups not working is totally normal. Over 90% of startups don't succeed. The important thing is that you still learn huge amounts, right? So it doesn't matter if your startup didn't work, if in the process you learned skills that you can use going forward, right? If you learned how to use a certain technology, if you learned how to lead, if you learned how to take a product from zero to one, right? These are all skills that major global corporations are super interested in, right? If you take a look at the world's most innovative companies, take Google or Tesla or OpenAI, those companies aren't just hiring good tech people. They're seeking people that have good tech skills and they're great problem solvers and they're great builders and great leaders. So, you know, I think there's always this worry that I see with people that do startups about like, what if I fail? I would say, don't worry about that. Know that you're learning incredible skills that will make you really, really employable. And if in your second year your startup is not working, then either you start another one or you just go do an internship. And I guarantee that you will have a much easier time finding an internship with the experience of building your own product and the experience of leading a small team. Like there is no loss. You should always just, go and go and do it. I like, there is no loss. Yash, go ahead.
I think fantastic answer. A lot of people are saying that they agree and echo this path. One common question which I'm again seeing is, how do I know whether entrepreneurship is right for me?
I would say it's difficult to know until you start, right? And I will say, like, as a student at SST, there's not a lot of risk, right? You're still doing your academic work. You're still learning about technology and software development every day. Um, and then, in your free time, you're working on a startup, right? So I would say the best way to find out is just to try it, right? Find a team in the innovation lab that you think is really interesting and join them, or come up with your own idea and just give it a whirl. And if it doesn't work, again, there's no loss. You've learned a lot and you can go back to being a regular student. So, well, the short answer is you'll know it's right for you when you try it, right? And at SST, we really try to make it such that you can try it without any risk and it's very easy, right? And you get free pizza. So that's good. Yeah.
Perfect. I think a lot of you are asking me about SST now. Uh, so yeah, like I think so. Just let me quickly cover that. Right, like when is the next entrance exam? Bhumika was asking if I'm in 11th and can I apply to SST. Bhumika, practice hard, work very hard, and next year I'm sure I'll see you at SST after you go to your 12th grade. But for everybody who's asking me this question, let me not deviate from the topic, but I'll take 2 minutes since you guys are bombarding my DMs right now with that question. Uh, Let me quickly go ahead. So this is you go on our website. This is the admission tab. You go on the admission tab. Here you will see key dates. So as you can see, the next slot available for NSET is on 24th April is the deadline. You have two slots available on 24th April. You can pick either 26th April exam or 27th April exam. The exam is online. It's a 2 hour long exam. The syllabus is mathematics and logical reasoning. Now, if you are an entrepreneur already, which means that if you have built great tech projects, if you have built like some very interesting tech projects, if you have done really well on your JEs, have overall like cracked Olympiads, then there is something called a profile-based shortlist, which means even if you score slightly lower in our entrance exam, we'll still forward your profile or shortlist you for the interview, right? And that is why I also recommend you all to apply for this April intake rather than waiting for the May and June dates, is because April it's relatively less competitive, because then June, July you have all 99, 98% percentiles are applying, and it's a tough competition because the selection rate is 3%, right? So for every 100 apply, we by default will go 3.5%. So let me know if you have any further questions on NSET and we can take it up later. Uh, on website you will find all the details you require, your eligibility check, your scholarship insight guide, everything. So I suggest that you spend some time on SST's website. What I will do is I will also share this particular page with you guys on chat, the admission page, so that you can read and get your doubts solved, and then we won't take any more questions about this on this. One second. Perfect. So yeah, I've added on the notice board. Can you guys see the link? Can you just quickly click on the link and tell me if that link is working for you all? Just give me a thumbs up once you do so. I need at least 20 assists just to see that whether you're able to listen or you're attentive or not in the session. 14 only, guys. Come on. Okay, perfect. Now we have got 20. So I think Rishabh is behind me. That he has a question for you, Martin. I'm going to take
What's
it
the
out of
question?
chat. Question
Yeah,
is,
go.
sir, can you tell me the key to convince investors on and how to present my idea? Basically, how do I pitch my idea to investors and convince them to put in capital?
Yeah, this is a topic people write entire books about. So it's a really difficult one, Rishabh. But I will tell you that the best way to convince investors to give you money is to show that your idea works, right? So we would call this traction. And there's many ways to show that your idea works, right? The best way is to have customers, right? This comes back to showing that somebody bought your product. That shows that your idea is working. And I think that's the one that I would recommend most of you do, like build something and then show that people love it. And then investors usually understand that, there's some potential there. So that's the first part. The second part, is also that you need to show that you can make money. Because startups are about money at the end of the day, right? It's you founding a company and you building something that will hopefully turn into a unicorn, right? And so you need to show, one, that people will use my product, but then two, that people will pay for it and they will pay me enough for me to build a useful business, right? It's not enough to pay 1 rupee. You have to get a decent income from everybody using your platform. And those two things really, there's a lot of additional fluff and a lot of people saying lots of things on the internet, but it's very simple at the end of the day. You have to have people that love your product and pay for it, and you have to make money. And then every investor will say, yes, I will give you our money. It's relatively simple.
I think one question which students are asking, right? Their fundamental confusion is about pursuing computer science and AI as a field, right? So maybe if you could shed some light on why that's the need of the hour for students, or maybe my question is more biased. Why computer science and AI? Simple as that.
Why computer science and AI? I mean, look, you could also do other things. Let me start there, right? You can certainly try and go into a number of other fields. Let's say like I mean, farming is not the most relevant, but you can go into banking, into finance. You can go into psychology. You could go and you can be a doctor. All of these things are there. I think the reason why you should study, software engineering and AI is that those have recently, at least, been some of the places where you get the best jobs, right? Amazing companies, Google, Apple, Microsoft, these are all amazing places to work. You get great salaries, right? And three, you get the skills, and this is what I'm excited about, to build startups, right? Where else can you get the skills to actually build a product, right? To launch a website or, to make a smart mirror that can tell you what your fashion taste is and how bad it is in my case. I think there's very few other fields where you have such freedom to build things on your own. And so that's why I really think you should join, in addition to all the things about getting a good job. That's also cool. But for me, it's really about the ability to build amazing things. And I don't think there's any other job that allows you to do it as well as a software engineering job. And then to answer the AI part, you can't do software engineering today without AI. It's just an absolutely essential part of how we code today, right? All of you would have heard about Cursor or GitHub Copilot. Those are absolutely essential in terms of using, but then also many products today integrate AI. So I think if you want to be a founder in 2025, then you need to know AI. There's just no way around it. Yeah, I don't even know how to explain this. Yes, does that answer the question?
I think yes, and one more thing which I also sort of would like to add to this is,
Hmm.
let's look at the scope, right? Like I think we cannot bucket AI with, let's say, a banking or or let's say any other field, right? Like because AI is everywhere. That
Yeah.
currently every function, every industry, there are probably 36 major industries and like 8 to 10 major functions we look at in an organization. Every function today is AI enabled or AI native, right? There are
Yeah.
applications, use cases, workflows of AI in every single thing, and it's either you adapt, you adopt, and you embrace it, or you get churned out of the system
Agreed.
fundamentally, right? So while I'm not saying that you have to learn how to write code or learn AI in depth, but understanding how to improve your own productivity, efficiency, and accuracy in decision making using AI is very important. So tools like Martin mentioned, like Cursor is one of my favorite tools. Like I don't know how to code jack shit, Martin. I am learning with Cursor right now. It's my co-pilot. It auto writes a lot of code for me.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm also using a tool called Lovable. Lovable literally creates an entire app out of just a prompt,
Hmm.
which I think a lot of you
Well,
students also can check out. I'm going
yeah,
to
I
share
just want
this.
to point out that these tools are great, but you still need to be able to do software development to actually
Yeah,
code full apps.
that's important.
They will help you build a very basic version of your product.
Yeah,
But then when you want to scale it or when you want to change something about it and customize the product, these tools all fail. So I'm somewhat skeptical of using them without any coding skills. So yes, you should join us and join the developer side, and learn. Yeah, it's
absolutely.
brighter on
I
our
think I
side.
think this is like an ancillary. Think of it like you just have an idea at night, morning 3 a.m. You wake up, you want to test it out, just prompt and see what it comes out with, right? Like this is not going to build a deep uh, product. This is definitely just like a pre MVP alpha stage product, not even a beta stage. But yeah, do check these things out. I think a lot of exciting things are happening, and I think we're also about time.
You know.
Would love to thank Martin for giving his precious time to all of you. And trust me, guys, it was like very tough for us to bring Martin. We just did it because all of you were like, yeah, we want to talk to Innovation Lab head because SST's there's so much buzz around SST's Innovation Lab. So we thought like, why not bring Martin on this call to have a conversation with all of you. Guys, any last
Thank
two questions for Martin? We'll take last two questions or any thoughts on how your experience was. Okay, if I may ask, what were the rough figures of your startups or midlife slide? I don't see
Mhm.
any major. There is no AI without hardware, and as of now, hardware industry is booming. Okay, very interesting question Srishant has. There is no
Mhm.
AI without hardware, and as of now, hardware industry is booming. Is it wise to choose computer science engineering software?
I mean, uh, look again. Like there's amazing opportunities in hardware for sure, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't look at hardware, but just because hardware is booming, that doesn't mean that software will not boom as well. And in fact, I think the fact that hardware is booming makes it such that it's getting easier for us to build amazing products every day, right? So rather than thinking of them as being competitors, hardware and software go hand in hand. When the hardware gets better, then the software gets new opportunities to do amazing things. So you should definitely continue to invest time in being a software engineer, um, despite the fact that hardware is coming and getting better. In fact, the fact that hardware is getting better just means that you should become a software engineer even more. Right? It's like getting new tools. You get a new tool that makes it even better and even easier and even greater to be a software engineer.
Awesome. And I think one last question for the day: will AI replace developers?
No. The short version is no. I do not think that is happening for a very long time. I think that AI will take certain parts of a developer's jobs, right? So like the boring parts, like if you've written an if statement with 20 conditions, today I don't need to write out all 20 conditions. Today Copilot does that for me. But the hard parts, the thinking part, the planning part, the structuring your code part, the parallelism, all these things that we do work on here at SST, those things AI cannot do yet, and probably will not be able to do for 50, 60, 100 years. It's very much useful to become an AI engineer today, and AI will not take your job. It will just make you even more productive. I'm very, very confident in this.
Perfect. I think all lovely answers. And I think one last question, which I
Yep.
probably it's a poll, it's not a question. Like, how was your overall experience? I keep asking this question to understand what did you take away from the session, right? Like, if you can just probably rate the session, we'll understand very well.
This feels like a test in high school, yeah.
But I think it was lovely chatting with all of you. How many of you are giving NSET? Just give me a thumbs up in April intake, or how many of you have given right now? I think April intake ones, just give me a thumbs up. I understand that. Okay, 9, 10 of you are giving for April. All the best to the ones who are giving on April. Do keep an eye on all the different this we have. I'm still preparing, so you don't know whether you're giving for April or not. Shishan, we do conduct hackathons, but I think you're great. Uh, Thanks a lot, everyone, for your time. Thanking you, Martin, for your time again.
Thank you. Yeah,
Really
my
appreciate
pleasure.
you being there for these amazing bunch of students.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, folks. Absolutely great to get to know you. I hope to see many of you in the Innovation Lab itself. I do have to run. I have a meeting in 1 minute. But Yash, thank you for having
Okay.
me, and
Yeah. Thank you,
everybody.
everyone. Have a great day.
Absolute pleasure. Yeah.
All the best
Bye
for
bye,
your upcoming
everybody.
exams. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye. Bye bye.